Blues Matters here at Chicago Blues Festival 2025, Millennium Park. I'm here with the one and only alligator recording artist, DK Howe.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
Hi, Dick. Let's start things off. What's your backstory? How did you get into music in the first place?
Well, the story is that when I got to the age where a baby, toddler, infant should start to talk, that I did not apparently have anything to say. My family honestly thought that I was going to end up being mute because my mother said even when I was a newborn, I didn't cry when I was born. And they thought I was stillborn because I didn't move, I didn't do anything. So I was just a very boring baby until one day my grandfather gave my mother the CD, Deuces Wild, which was a B.B. King collaborative studio recording with different artists. And he said, if you play this CD in the car while you're on your way to the mall, he will be good. My mother said that he doesn't do anything. What do you mean? I would be good. And he said, just put it on. He likes it. Just put it on. So we get to, we're on the road, and my mother tells the story better than I do. But we're on the road, and apparently the song The Thriller's Gone was playing. And she had a little voice in the background singing The Thriller's Gone. And she thought something was wrong with her stereo. So she kind of evened out the volume to where she could hear both. And she said, let me just see if it's him singing. And she kind of, looked over her shoulder at me in my car seat, and there I was, rocking from side to side, singing The Thriller's Gone. And she almost wrecked the car because she was excited about her boy finally speaking. But the way she tells the story is that, and he was in his car seat talking, and now I can't get him to shut up. So, so that's really my first encounter with music, but the first time I really paid attention to it, because babies, are known for dancing to any types of beats or rhythms. But I feel like once the brain is kind of developed something, you start understanding what that music is or what anything is around you, kind of makes it more in depth or accent on it. And the first piece of music I heard and paid attention to and really started to understand was the music of Ray Charles. Because at the time when I was about at first grade, second grade, something like that, elementary, the movie Ray came out. And my stepfather, Brent Brooks, who was married to my mother, said, we should go see that movie about Ray. We got to go see it. And so I remember seeing all the TV promo spots, and they would play what I sang. I would hit the road jazz, and I'm like, man, this music sounds good at it. But then when I went and saw the movie, I was sold. I didn't care what the story was about. I was like, the music is great. And the first song I remember falling in love with was Hallelujah, I Love Her So. That song, when he played it, the saying is that he's playing it on a nightclub. And these two Black Baptist church members walk to the club, and they literally stop the show, and they're like, that's gospel you singing, you're turning the Lord's music into sex, you're making money off the Lord, and Ray handled it so well. He was like, you got a problem. He was like, that's gospel you singing, you're not singing, and so of course for the dramatics, one band member left agreeing with the Baptist church members. And Ray was like, y'all feeling good? And people like, y'all want us to keep playing? And he's like, yeah, So they go right back into the song like it was nothing. And I just like that. I like the raw expression of his music. That rhythm and blues and gospel mixed together. And that's really how it all started. And I just started learning about different artists as I went on.
And are you from a musical background?
Yes and no. I remember my grandfather on my father's side stated that I had a great-great-grandfather who played harmonica a little bit, which harmonica was my first instrument. A lot of people don't know that. And then on my mother's side, my grandmother, great-grandmother, which back then most of the women were in churches, not so much the men.
Yeah.
So a lot of my grandmothers and great grandmothers sung in the local choirs. My mother sung in the choir as well. And I remember going to church with my mother's mother, very, very old country church where we only had a piano player. And some Sundays we wouldn't have a drummer, we would just have just a piano, which I consider to be the real authentic, Southern gospel church where you may have one instrument,
Yeah.
or sometimes you just clap and sing. But the history of my family doing music, I know my grandfather, my mother's side, he played trumpet when he was in high school a little bit, but nobody kind of stuck with it. I even found out recently my mother played saxophone when she was in school.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't you keep it up? She was like, I ain't got the lungs for it. so I was like, makes sense. But I'm the only one in the family who just really stuck with it and loved it so much. And a lot of family members, older and younger, have said this since I was little. They always kind of felt that I would do something related to music or actually singing the clown the instrument. And I guess I just kind of knew, from a very young age that this just might be what I ended up getting for Western Chorus.
And what got you into the blues as they showing?
Well, my grandfather, C.H. Jackson, would take us on these road trips to the casinos. Because these casinos, he would take us, I'm sorry, because we're kids. Like, it's all it's like me and my younger cousin and my one older cousin, and he would get all of us the grandchildren. And he would take us to this casino in Marksville, Louisiana, which is, of course, the birthplace of Walter, called the Paragon. And he would say, y'all want to go to Marksville? We just kids, yeah, we want to go to Marksville, because he lived in the country. So, of course, we want to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
And on these trips, he would play B.B. King and Bobby Bland together again when they're at the Coconut Grove. And, he would be, driving and tapping his hand and snapping his fingers. And I would be sitting there in the passenger seat, like, playing to him. He would go, DK, you're playing too fast. You got to take your time. And we would go to these casinos and he would go gamble. He would say, here, baby. He would give it to my oldest cousin. So my oldest cousin is like, 14. I'm like 12, and the other one's like 10, and the youngest one is like 7. And he's like, here, baby, y'all go to the movie. Because in this casino, there's a movie there. Y'all go to the movie, y'all watch a movie. Granddaddy is going to handle some business. Like, we didn't know what he was doing. So we would just so we would take that money. He would give us quite a bit of money. But we would go catch a movie, get snacks, and then we would go to the arcade and be at the arcade until 1 o'clock in the morning. So, of course he would call my cousin, because he would give her his cell phone. And he would, I want to call you from the casino. So if the phone rings, it's me calling you. So he would call and he would go, hey, baby, what y'all doing? Oh, man, we at the arcade. Y'all all right? Yes, sir. Y'all still got enough money? Yes, sir. All right, I'll see y'all in a minute. And then another hour and a half goes by. So anyway, I'm sorry, I know that's a long story. But he would just play these old records around us all the time, whether it was a road trip or we would do spring cleaning, which we hated because all the dust and so bad. He would do a lot of spring cleaning. He would just put on an actual record, actual vinyl song. And it would be, the Five Blind Boys in Mississippi, it'd be Percy Sledge, Otis Redding, B.B. King, Bobby Bland, Johnny Taylor, Little Johnny Taylor. Like, he had records.
So,
Still to this day in his house, because when he passed, I moved into his house so it wouldn't get run down. Still to this day, I'm still finding original, like 45s. Like I have an original 45 of Aretha Franklin's Respect. Like from when it came out, not from a reissue, like an actual original rap. So he just he loves music, and I love how much he exposed me to it. And because I would play music at inappropriate times.
Right.
What I mean by that is like we had a great aunt pass away, and the funeral had just ended, and so I'm like, okay, we're having the repast, which is where you celebrate. Really, your family just gets together and eat a lot of food. We had the repast at my grandfather's house, and he had a computer, and I was on the computer, looking up James Brown. So I'm playing Cold Sweat while everybody is sad. They're like, and my grandfather walks up and he goes, DK, this isn't the time, but man. But it's a video. It just came out. It's on YouTube. It's James Brown. You go, we can watch it later. Just check it out. You crying, I didn't even go to the funeral. Must have been really sad, so just turn it off, But yeah, so that was my buddy. Until the last story.
And when did you first go on stage?
Oh, well, unprofessionally, was first grade on the movie Ray came out. They had I want to say the movie Ray came out like around December of like 2004.
Mm.
And of course, I don't know if they still do it, but I know back in the 2000s, movies came out. They would have the soundtrack on the CD.
Yeah.
So I got both soundtracks, and they had a Black History Month program. And they asked the kids, does anybody have a talent where they can, do something? But I was like, I can play like Ray Charles. And I was like, you actually play piano? I was like, no, but I can fake it. So that's what they did. They had somebody, I want to say they got it from the music hall in this week, because we actually did have a music program. And they brought out a piano and put it on the stand, and there I was in my little school uniform, red polo shirt, and khaki pants, with shades on, walking like Ray Charles to the piano, and I think I did What I Say or something of that nature. And we had that on video.
Yeah.
But it got lost. Because we had an old camcorder.
Yeah.
And it got lost in a bad storm that hit north of this. And I wish we could have kept it. I wish it got saved. But that was the first time I was on stage unprofessionally. The first time I was on stage professionally was in 2019 when I did the B.B. King Symposium. And I was just surrounded by, that's pretty much over their life now, but that was the first time being surrounded by legends and having to be on stage with them, the audience member anymore. And I knew then that, I had to be on my P's and Q's. Like I had to show them that I could do this, Yeah. And that night, when we did the jam set, that day we did the Thrillers Gone, and we did the jam session later on that night. Everybody welcomed me with open arms, and out of that I became good friends with the Neal family, Kenny Neal, Ray Neal, and also became very close friends with Walter Riley King, who was B.B. King's nephew and one director from like 1879 to about the time he passed away. So out of that experience being on stage for the first time professionally, I made $200.
Mm-hmm.
That in the world to me. Making $200 on the first gig, that's all right. So that was the first time I was on stage professionally.
And what was the difference for you as a player on stage?
If I had to say a difference, when you're a front man, you're in your head a lot. When you're kind of in the background, the side man, or the backing band, or the rhythm section, you kind of don't have to be concerned about so much, because you're more just follow the leader mode. Whatever they do, I'm just going to follow them. But when you're a front man, you can be singing a song, and you're like, I'm trying to remember the lyrics, I don't know the words to this song. So sometimes you may think that when the guitarist is playing a long intro to a song, that they're just having fun. Sometimes Rex are going, what are the words to this song? I know this song. And, oh, okay, that's it. And then they put the guitar to the side and play rhythm and walk up to the mic. So that's the difference for me is your brain gets ahead of you sometimes. And it kind of messes with your self-esteem a little bit, even though you've probably been performing that song for 2 years straight, 5 years straight, 10 years, or you've known the song since you was a kid. But I had a moment last night where we were on stage singing a song from the new record, and I skipped over a whole verse, went to another verse, and everybody on stage was like, what? And so hopefully that doesn't happen today. But so that's just a big difference. As for myself personally, musically, what's different is I don't play chords. Yeah. So I have to rely on the bass player and the keyboard player in my band to hold down the foundation of the song. And I understand it. And it's not that I don't learn my chords. With the nerve issue that I have, every blue moon, these fingers have a mind of their own. And I know what I want to do up here. And I can see myself doing it up here. But my fingers go, I don't feel like doing it. We're going to do this. Yeah. So sometimes when you hear me play a muted note, and I try to trick people. Because people have gone, man, I love the way you go from hitting the notes and muting it and then hitting it again and mute. Man, that's great. And I'm like, thank you. But in my head, I'm going, it's because I got the nerve here and I can't feel it, or my muscle memory is messing with me. That's a challenge for me, or that's a difference. But I've learned to work with it. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cause any pain. It's not like I'm losing complete motor function or nothing like that. It's just these 4 fingers just have like some little slight pins and needles to them. Yeah, that's it.
And what about when you picked up your first guitar?
My first guitar was a Sensonic Pro Series Stratocaster. Dirt cheap guitar. Don't make them anymore. I really want to say they were made in the 80s or 90s. Yeah. My grandfather on my dad's side, Ezekiel Harrell. I said, Papa, I want a guitar for Christmas. And why you want a guitar for Christmas? I want to play blues. I want to play guitar. I can go, okay. So he knew this guy was in Harrell, but there was a pawn shop not too far from my grandfather lived. And my grandfather and this man who owned the pawn shop had worked together like 20-some years prior. So he always cut my grandfather good deals, and my grandfather worked to hunt. So the man got a $500 shotgun in, my grandfather would get it for $200. So this man had this guitar for $100. And the man at the store really didn't know anything about guitars. I'll tell you why. He sold the guitar to my grandfather for $50. And he told my grandfather he was going to need an amp. My grandfather, of course, same way, not knowing anything about guitars. Yeah. He goes, well, he needs an amp like a speaker. And he said, yes, sir, he needs something he can put it into. He did. And he said, okay, what's your cheapest one? Man just pointed at an amp. And my grandfather said, okay. It worked, he made sure it worked. Yeah. But it was a bass amp.
Oh, right.
It was a small PV. It was PV, a small PV, 112-inch speaker of a bass amp. So I got this guitar plugged in, and every note is do, do, do. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm playing this thing, bo, 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 And it was very funny. But of course they didn't know. But I was a kid. I was like 12 years old, and I just fell in love with it. Is that my door? I don't know. I guess that can be. Yeah. Don't have to stop. Hello. Oh, beautiful ladies. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, my summer.
What?
Tell me this. I'll just see all.
It's soon. Then. Least.
Was it? The idea.
The come to start and take
Sorry, I'm about to
each other. Like, I just do it for beautiful ladies.
Yeah.
Which they came with the titles. So my grandfather bought this, very cheap guitar. I fell in love with it. But I can't lie, it was, when I say a cheap guitar,
Yeah.
it fell apart very fast.
Oh, would you?
And I still, it's like right now, it's just a guitar body.
Yeah.
The pickups are out of it, the input jack fell out. And my mother was like, "Are you gonna get that guitar fixed?" I'm like, eventually. Because it does have sentimental value. And I do want to get it fixed. Would I ever play it live? Probably not, because I'm not a straight guy, but around the house, of course. Because you never know, I may mature and setting that one up and after I get fixed.
Well, it's a lot. You know what's
And what get you into playing the guitar instead of the piano? What was
What it was actually John Lee Hooker.
oh yeah.
My stepfather, Brent Brooks, also was a big fan of the Blues Brothers. And when I was born, there were 3 movies that were like the top movies at the time when I was born. And it was The Water Boy with Adam Sandler, The Bride of Chucky, which scared me
Yeah.
because I was a kid,
Yeah.
and Blues Brothers 2000. Now, of course, it was a flop at the box office, like they say, but it was a popular movie, It became a cult classic, but he had it on a VHS, and it made me upset because back then with VHS, they weren't, of course, they're not like CD players where you can skip to.
Yeah.
With this VHS, I had to watch Bride of Chucky
Right.
in order to get the Blues Brothers. And I would try to, to fast forward it, but back then the screen would just turn blue and say rewind or fast forward. And if you played it, you were just rolling a dice on where you stopped it.
Yeah.
So every time I would play it, I'm stopping it on somebody getting killed by a dog. So I'm like 5 years old, scarring myself for life, But Blues Brothers 1 and 2 were on the VHS, and John Lee Hooker has a scene where he's playing on Maxwell Street. Now, a fun fact about this scene, which I'm sure you guys probably know, a fun fact about the scene of John Lee Hooker on Maxwell Street is that the band is Muddy Waters' band at the time. Muddy Waters was supposed to be in that scene. It wasn't supposed to be John Lee Hooker. But Muddy had took sick during filming, and then next thing you know, like a month or 2 later, he passes away. And that's when they got John Lee Hooker to do Maxwell Street second. So when I heard that twang, that just he always played. I want to say you played a G tune, and if I'm not, open D. John Tavius was no better than me, but he always played on an open tone. And when he would finger pick his G string, it had that bow 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 boom boom. It just had that kind of lumpy, gritty sound, and I loved it. And I said, I want to play like that. And then I listened to other artists from that time before, who were covering John Lee Hooker songs like The Yardbirds, The Animals, and they could play those licks. And I said, man, those can play those good songs. I was trying to be the person who played like somebody that was hard to play like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So after John Lee, it was Chuck Berry. But the Rolling Stones got Chuck Berry down to the T, as well as the Beach Boys and etc. So I said, okay, who is somebody that, I tried to do all Muddy Waters, James, John Lee Hooker, Chuck Berry, who else? And Al King, Freddie King. And there was just so many people just play like all these people. I said, who is somebody that is hard to get, tone-wise and approach? And then I was watching BB on Blues Brothers 2000, And I said, now I looked at other guitarists and then also, because they had like Travis Tritt, Colin Campbell, and I said, everybody's playing chords except for me there. Mm-hmm. I said, that must have been hard to just rely on single note playing. So the more I looked at YouTube videos of other people playing BB stuff, this is gonna sound arrogant, and I really don't mean it in a bad way. But tone-wise and sound-wise, it just didn't happen. Because there's more to BB sound than just what he plays. So when I say I did deep studying, I'm looking at pictures and looking at his guitar cable going to the amp. Wow. And there's a picture from like 1972, and 1960 down going, this cable is a Y cable. And I would Google, what is a Y cable? Y cable was meant for stereo output. And makes sense. He played Gibson DS355s. Yeah, that wired stereo, which is what I get the Y cable. Now, you tell that the president of guitarists go, oh, that's because you can plug it into 2 amps. You don't have to. The Fender Twin was actually made for most guitarists to play through it. Yeah. Not just to have more than one channel. It was to have multiple guitarists play through it. And so for him to take just one single Y cable and play it in the one end of the twin and the other end of the twin, he could split his pickups through 2 speakers in the same amp, which of course creates, I was talking about B.B. King tone to be almost money. So, taking all of that knowledge, I started to really study videos. I think I started watching his videos religiously from 2013. Today, I still watch him. I know a guy I think he's in Germany, either Germany or Belgium, and somehow he gets like these archive concerts of people, stuff that you really can't find on YouTube, and he sells them. And I'm willing to pay that $30 to get one, because I'd be like, hey, you got a BB at Jasmine, with friends, please, and he's like, yeah, it'd be $30. I'm like, okay, I send it to him. Because BB style and tone and approach, it has, in my opinion, 3 things in this: feeling, the soul, timing, and tone. So soul, tone, and taking your time. You look at guitarists today, a lot of them tend to shred. Yeah. And I understand that a majority of the popular, fans or whatever enjoy that. But also taking your time can also show people the beauty in not rushing anything. It's just like when you're looking for, a girlfriend or a wife. They say, your mother, your father always say, oh, it's cool that you met somebody. Don't rush nothing. And I feel like that's the way the music should be. It shouldn't be just, oh, we need to make money off the tip, and then you got this big ball of mess, Yeah. It's best to take your time, and that's what I learned from BB style was that you don't have to play a million notes to get your point across. Yeah. And it's like a conversation. If you ask somebody, hey, how are you doing? They go, well, I went to the store today and I bought some milk, but then the milk was rotten, so I went and got some eggs, and then the eggs were spoiled, and then I went and got cereal, but the cereal was stale. And then I went and grabbed some apples, but every apple had a bruise on it, so then I thought I'd get some oranges, but then the oranges had a bruise on it. Then I got some pears, but into it, the pear was sour, I didn't like the pear. So then I went and I got some chicken, the chicken was raw. And you go, oh, I asked you, how are you doing? And you switch up. Yeah, Yeah. And I feel like sometimes with shredding, it can be like that. These run-on sentences. 100%. Yeah, just 10,000 word sentences that don't make sense. Now, I'm not saying whoever playing it is not playing from the heart, but if you're doing it on every song, then real music people can see the difference between you being an actual artist and you being a musician. Yeah. And I feel like when you have to rely on a million notes out of this 90-minute set, you know, to make that be who you are, then you're kind of feeling as an artist, because on the artist end, you should be able to sing a song.
Yeah.
With or without your guitar, with or without your piano, and still make people go, man, that is nice. That feels good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very delicate. It's a thin line, and it's very delicate. And I like how I play. I get backlash for how I play. I get backlash for talking to audiences sometimes. Yeah, people don't like when I talk to the audience.
Yeah.
Because they're those type of people who want to hear
Yeah.
guitar.
Yeah.
And it's like, we are humans too. You know,
Exactly.
we have to connect with our audience. It can't just be a million notes. It can't be 10 million solos thrown around, and then me going good night, and then you go from, man, that was a great show, but I noticed he doesn't talk to people after the show.
Yeah.
You gotta choose your battles.
Yeah.
You gotta choose one.
Absolutely.
Either you want me to be personal with you,
Yeah.
or you want me to be a robot and just give you the show and then just walk off. So it can be, there's this balance.
Yeah. Where did you learn your stagecraft? I mean, you do walkabouts and things like that. Where's the
I'll be honest with you. I learned everything I do on stage. I learned through 4 people really.
Good.
Sam Cooke,
Brother.
Ray Charles, of course we became James Brown, and Otis Red, and Sam Bennett. What I noticed about all these mega, like, if you think about it, Sam and Dave were just singers and musicians.
Yes.
Sam Cooke, he did play guitar, but he didn't play on stage. These are people who could stand flat-footed and sing. And by the way, that's another inspiration or influence for my stage. When I used to have a bad night of closing my eyes on a perform. I used to be very shy.
Yeah.
Very shy. And my hands used to shake some bad. But I could still perform. It's just I would be, blind and shaking. But as I continued to do it eased up. But Sam Cooke, Bobby Blue Bland, Sam and Dave, Otis Redding, they all were the type of guys who said, hey, I may be able to play an instrument, but I also know how to get on stage without an instrument and still perform a good show.
Yeah.
And still have confidence in myself that I can deliver. And I feel like once you have that first before you're on stage with their guitar playing, that individual confidence of knowing that, hey, I can be myself without my instrument. Because sometimes it's a cringe. Because you hear some artists say, I feel kind of naked without my guitar. When they kind of just told you in a joking way, I'm comfortable, but I'm not as comfortable. Or I'm confident, but not as confident. And I feel like once you can sit there and actually be confident on stage without it, and you can still get people's attention and emotions, just to get a warm reception of just being yourself, that's going farther than guitar or piano licks, whatever. So a lot of them really, just from watching videos and eye contact, because another thing they teach you, if you watch Sam Cooke was always looking at the audience and smiling, and that's a big thing. Bobby Bland could sing a song and won't even have to walk from time. He can stand right in the middle with a mic and a single spotlight, kill it.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want that, man, I can do this, and I'm gonna do it. And damn it, when I do it, they ain't gonna forget about me, and that's how it should be.
But when was that light bulb moment for you?
Sometimes it doesn't happen all the time, or sometimes it does. It's like we were in Vero Beach, Florida, and we did a song from the first record, Hello True.
Right.
Slow blues. It's not even like an inspirational, like, oh, I learned a lesson. It's not like that. It's just talking about how you can't leave this woman alone. She fusses at you and treats you. But anyway, we were doing the song, and we finished the song. Let me be on my way. bum, 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 and we got a standing ovation. And I was just like, and it's happened more than once with that song, but when that happened in Vero Beach, I was like, I just looked back at the band and I was like, this is like the third song on the list. You know?